It's time. Good morning.
Morning.
Very good, very good. Um, my name is Dolores Fitch and I'm a member of your board. I use she and her pronouns. She and he doesn't matter. I serve as one of your board trustees members. I'm happy to welcome you to the Homo Unitarian Universalist congregation. Longtime members and new alike, you are welcome here. Whether you're joining us here on site in the sanctuary or online from another location, we're glad you're here. We are one people of many beliefs and many origins, sexualities, and genders, and love is the power that holds us together. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. You are welcome just as you are. If this is the first time you're with us, I bid you a special welcome. I'm glad you found your way to our community. After this service, Chrissy Kim will be in the back over there, in the sanctuary, to answer questions you may have about Unitarian Universalism and about our congregation. Or if you want to talk about how to get more involved in the community, please feel free to join her. For those of you here in the sanctuary, we have hearing assistants in the back and large print hymnals for those of you who have trouble with reading or hearing. Our ushers would be happy to help you with these. For our service this morning, our online chat chaplain will help guide our online folks. And for those of us on site, we'll be utilizing the screen behind us to project words for our unison reading and lyrics of our hymns. You can also follow along in the printed order of service. Also in our order of service, you can find information about our website, tahomauu.com. Some upcoming events and volunteer opportunities and the QR code that will take you to our weekly e-news. If you aren't yet signed up for the e-news, you can do that today so you don't miss a thing. There's much happening here at Tacoma UU. I want to highlight just a few of the announcements, and there are a lot. Today, Mary Rhine will be in our pulpit, and during Reverend Crystal's absence, we have contracted with Victoria Poling for pastoral care. If you are in need, you can reach out to her at minister@vashionisland.org or 360-851-9603, or email me or Lauren to contact you. Reverend Victoria Poling uses he and she pronouns and identifies as queer, Hispanic, and white Pacific Northwesterner. She serves as minister of the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalist and to Kitsap UU Fellowship. Reverend Victoria lives with her partner and 2 cats in Kent on traditional Muckleshoot territories in the Green River watershed. She enjoys drinking tea and looking for blue herons on the Seuss Creek. 8 people signed our book for new membership for the Pathways, and that's a correction from the 7 we had. And that's just wonderful. Calling on our TUUC committee, RE is in need of volunteers to teach RE lessons on 414, 55, 519, and 69. And I don't know if that has changed. It may have changed, it may not have. If there's no one available to teach, there will be no RE on these dates. Volunteers are also needed on April 7th and every Sunday thereafter to support both nurseries and the RE. We will be holding a meeting in the near future to discuss the possibility of revising the CUUPS committee. The Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans is an organization dedicated to the networking pagans identified Unitarian Universalists, educating people about paganism, promoting interfaith dialogue, developing pagan liturgies and theologies, and supporting pagan identified UU religious professionals. If you are interested in attending this meeting, please contact Chuck Hall at chuck@mindfulecotherapy.com. Okay, and I have something here. Our pledge drive will soon be kicking off. We need some volunteers to serve on a committee for this important annual work. Pledge committee members come up with a theme for the year, track progress towards our budget goal, and reach out to members to remind them to turn in their pledge forms. Can you help? Talk with David Pettit or Chrissy Kim to join this committee, which only meets from now until June. Okay, where was I? Check the e-news for more information, and there are many ways to become more involved and deeply connected with our spiritual community. In back here, we got the handicap access cleared out and functioning. Please do not block the access for handicapped people. That's very, very important. You are also invited to join us for our social hour immediately following the service right here in the sanctuary. There will be coffee and refreshments, and it's a great time to catch up and get to know someone new. For those of you who are visiting who are new to our community, we have red coffee mugs for you to use if you would like to identify yourself and chat, and they're right over there. I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup Tribe Nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I affirm continued sovereignty of the 574 federally recognized tribes, including 29 here in Washington state, and support those still fighting for federal recognition. I acknowledge the theft, violence, trauma, and racism that Indigenous people have experienced at the hands of colonizers from 1492 through the present day. I honor the resiliency of the Indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to fight for land, water, viability, sovereignty, and their very existence. Last, friends, I invite you to set your electronic devices to worship mode. And Sheila would like to say something about what's happening.
You're probably tired of me, but too bad. Here I am. So everything you need to know about the auction is in the e-news, or you can go to the church calendar and click on April 13th. That'll take you right to the website. And we have donations coming in. I'm starting to store them in the back room over there, which is locked, and people have brought, there'll be some new things posted today. You can buy tickets online, and you can look at the catalog, and there'll be new things that I'll be posting when I get home today. So we need volunteers to serve wine, to enter data, to pass out bid numbers at the front door. So there's a link there for volunteers. So please take a look and help out where you can. Thank you.
Okay. I invite you, go to worship mode. We are gathered here, one community together. Let us settle ourselves into the moment and open our hearts and learn and unlearn to share and receive. Everybody got all that? Okay.
How to be a pilgrim. Air travel is like ancient pilgrims walking on their knees. Flight delays and narrow seats offer their own kind of penance. You jettison excess baggage. Books you wanted to carry are left behind too. No more outside words are needed. Then go old beliefs which keep you taut and twisted inside. Blistered feet stumble over rocky fields covered with wildflowers, and you realize this is your life, full of sharp stones, but also colors. Red-breasted robins call forth the song already inside. 100 griefs break open under dark clouds and downpour. Rise and fall of elation and exhaustion. The tide's a calendar of unfolding. A bright star arises and you remember a loved one waiting miles away. A new hunger is kindled by the sight of cows nursing calves in a field. Spying a spotted pony, you forget the weight and seriousness of things. Salmon swim across the Atlantic up the river Carib's rapids to the wide lake, and you wonder if you have also been called here for death and birth. This is why a journey to retrieve our lost intimacies with the world, every creature a herald of poems that sleep in streams and stones. Missing you scrawled on a postcard sent home, but you don't follow up with wish you were here, because this is a journey best made alone.
Good morning. I would like to invite Megan and family up to light our chalice this morning. And now if you'll join me in reading the words. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and respect for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. All right, and if you would please rise in body or spirit for our hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Now it's time for all ages, which means would the children or small people like to come up and join me? And also anyone that just likes to sit on the floor. Let's see if it's moving. Nope, has not moved. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. Bad me. I pushed the wrong button. So we're gonna have a story this morning. We're going to look at some butterflies. Oh, I'm so glad you do. And do you know very much about butterflies?
In class we're learning about
Okay. Are butterflies an insect? Yes, they
they
are.
have 6 legs.
Do butterflies go on a journey?
Yeah. They migrate.
Oh, yes, good. We are talking about journeys this morning. And
So we're basically talking about butterflies.
well, maybe there's more to a journey than just traveling a distance. Maybe there's something in the way you live a life. Oh, and pretty soon the film will start. Soon we'll have a film. Yes. Here it comes.
Have you ever wondered why butterflies are so colorful, or why they seem to dance from flower to flower with such grace and beauty? Today we're going to delve into the enchanting world of butterflies, exploring the secrets behind their vibrant colors, their mesmerizing life cycle, and their crucial role in our ecosystem. Imagine, if you will, a tiny egg no larger than a pinhead nestled on the leaf of a plant. This is where our journey begins, with a single butterfly egg. From this tiny beginning, an equally tiny caterpillar will emerge, embarking on the first stage of its life. This is the larval stage, where the caterpillar eats and grows, shedding its skin several times as it outgrows it. But the caterpillar's life is not just about eating, it's preparing for something spectacular. When it has grown enough, it enters the next stage of its life cycle, the pupa stage. This is where the magic happens. It creates a protective shell around itself, known as a chrysalis. Inside this chrysalis, the caterpillar undergoes a remarkable transformation, a process known as metamorphosis. And then, after a period that can range from a few weeks to several months, the chrysalis begins to crack. Slowly, a new creature emerges, a butterfly, with its magnificent wings displaying a riot of colors. This is the adult stage, the final stage in the life cycle of a butterfly. But why are these wings so colorful, you may ask? The colors and patterns on a butterfly's wings are not just for show. They serve many purposes, from attracting a mate to warding off predators. Some butterflies even use their colors to blend in with their surroundings, a clever trick known as camouflage. And what about their dance from flower to flower? This is not just a dance, it's a mission. Butterflies, like bees, are pollinators. As they flit from flower to flower, sipping nectar, they inadvertently carry pollen on their bodies. When they visit the next flower, some of this pollen rubs off, fertilizing the flower and enabling it to produce seeds. This process, known as pollination, is vital for the survival of many plants. So butterflies are not just beautiful creatures. They play a crucial role in our ecosystem, helping to pollinate plants and thus contributing to biodiversity. Without them, our world would be a much less colorful and diverse place. In summary, butterflies are fascinating creatures. From their humble beginnings as tiny eggs, they undergo a remarkable transformation, emerging as colorful adults. They dance from flower to flower, playing a crucial role in pollination and contributing to the health and diversity of our planet. So the next time you see a butterfly fluttering by, take a moment to appreciate its beauty and its important role in our world. After all, butterflies are much more than meets the eye.
Thank you for watching.
So, Have you ever seen a caterpillar? And do you wonder about the journey that it has to go through to become a butterfly? Yeah, it does. So it's part of life, isn't it? The growing and changing. Yes. Okay. So I think it's time for you to go to your classes. Can we create an arch and sing the children down?
So this is the time for our invitation to generosity. If you go online, if you want to donate that way, you can go to tahomauu.com. You'll see up at the top a button called Giving. And you can read the directions on the page it takes you to, and then there's a blue button that you press to donate to TUUC, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Before we dedicate this offering, I just want to mention for those in the sanctuary, we have 2 baskets up front, which can also take donations for our trans relocation project and our safe parking project as well. Thank you. All right, and please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And now, if you'll please rise in body or spirit for our hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Gather the spirit, harvest the power, gathering fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in strength, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, gather God's knowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Enter you spring and summer to fall, eyes of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
For the traveler. Every time you leave home, another road takes you into a world you never were in. New strangers on their paths await. New places that have never seen you. We'll start a little at your entry. Old places that know you will pretend nothing changed since you last visited. When you travel, you find yourself alone in a different way, more attentive now to the self you bring along, your more subtle eye watching you abroad, and how what meets you touches that part of your heart that lies low at home. When you travel, a new silence goes with you, and if you listen, you will hear what your heart would love to say. A journey can become a sacred thing. Make sure before you go to take the time to bless your going forth, to free your heart of ballast so that the compasses of your soul might direct you toward the territories of spirit where you will discover more of your hidden life and the urgencies that deserve your claim. May you travel in an awakened way. Gather wisely into your inner ground, that you may not waste the invitations which wait along the way to transform you. May you travel safely, arrive refreshed, and live your time away to its fullest. Return home more enriched and free to balance the gift of days which call you.
If, on a starlit night, with the moon brightly shimmering, we stay inside and do not venture out, the evening universe remains a part of our life we shall not know. If, on a cloudy day with grayness infusing and rain dancing rivers in the grass, we stay inside and do not venture out, the stormy, threatening energy of the universe remains a part of life we shall not know. If on a frosty morning, dreading the chilling air, before the sunrise, we stay inside and do not venture out, the awesome, cold, quiet, and stillness of the dawn universe remains a part of life we shall not know. If throughout these grace-given days of ours, surrounded as we are by green life and brown death, hot pink joy and cold gray pain, and miracles, always miracles. If we stay inside ourselves and do not venture out, then the fullness of the universe shall be unknown to us, and our locked hearts shall never feel the rush of worship.
Well, good morning once again. Maybe I didn't say good morning before, but anyway, some of you know me, many of you know me actually, but I know that there are some people I haven't met because there are new members and I haven't been around a lot lately. So I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I am Mary Rhine, a member of this congregation and also an ordained interfaith minister. My pronouns are she, her, and most of all, I am delighted and honored to be speaking with you this morning. So we're talking about journeys. So what exactly is a journey? And how is that different from traveling, a trip, whether long or short, from one place to another? What makes that a journey? Is a journey measured in distance or in time? And more importantly, what makes it a journey of spirit? What is a spiritual journey? I know that last question is answered somewhat by a quote from Martin Buber. All journeys have secret destinations of which the traveler is unaware. Is the realization of that secret destination, whether sudden or gradual, what makes this a journey, a spiritual journey? Perhaps it is. Okay, I realize I'm still asking an awful lot of questions and not a lot of answers. But let me share a bit of my own journey. I have always been a seeker, seeking answers. And sometimes that means coming up with questions. I've been on this same spiritual journey most of my life. I grew up unchurched, but, part of the dominant sort of Christian influenced culture, but unchurched. My spiritual practice as a child consisted mostly of camping during the summer with my folks, but still unchurched. How many of you grew up unchurched but found your way to this Unitarian Universalist congregation? Yeah, I'm not alone. So in my 20s, I've spent a lot of time going to Jewish synagogues with a coworker. Not the least bit Jewish, I just enjoyed the ritual. And camping is nice, but I felt like I was missing ritual in my life. And that was in my 20s. But then in my 30s, when I'm in a new job, I have a new coworker, and that coworker brought me to the UU church. Susan Kunkel, our song leader this morning, and the most evangelical UU out there. She brings people to the UU church, and she does a good job. So I came to the UU church, the Unitarian Universalist. And when I found out about the 7 principles, I was sold. I found my spiritual home. I was just sure of it. But my journey's not over. My journey will continue for the rest of my life. There's a lot more about the 7 principles. And I'll talk a lot about the 7 principles as we move on. But I'll talk a little bit about where my journey has been taking me and why it's a spiritual journey. Another element of Unitarian Universalism that was immediately important to me was the 6 sources of the tradition from which we draw. And among those was a respect for world religions and even also a respect for earth-centered traditions. So with my background, having gone to synagogue, the respect for world religions was pretty important. And being basically nature-centered from most of my life, that respect for earth-based traditions was equally important. So relating to those 2 sources led me to co-facilitate a UU Women in Religion course called Rise Up and Call Her Name. This was awesome. This series featured a look at goddess-centered earth traditions from around the world. Part of the course included a focus on looking at what it means to take a journey as opposed to merely traveling. So that's relevant for our topic this morning about spiritual journey. The series went through a number of sessions, making stops in Asia, Africa, India, North and South America, and Hawaii too. We were asked to be respectful of the cultures we were visiting, but without appropriating cultures that were not our own. We were provided some rules for traveling that are guidelines for being on a journey, to make it a journey as opposed to simply traveling. These are good guidelines, and I'm going to share some of them. They're good guidelines also for testing if you're on a spiritual journey and not just traveling. Now, I am exceedingly fortunate to have traveled quite a bit. And so in the course of Rise Up and Call Her Name curriculum, we virtually traveled some places, but I have been to Japan, India, and China, and I will share some of these guidelines for journeying that I think went with me on those trips and how it made those trips relevant as a spiritual journey. So these are some of the guidelines. One of them is engage from the heart in a way that is different from intellectual study alone. So in other words, taking a journey requires feeling rather than thinking. And, you know, we are often tempted to be in our heads. It's hard to bring it down to the heart level. So that's the first guideline. The second guideline is experiencing without always understanding or being able to fit what we see or feel into a predetermined explanation. In other words, sometimes a spiritual journey involves mystery, being okay with feeling without needing to know the how or why or understanding, appreciating mystery, and knowing that you don't have to judge the mystery based on the framework you had as you entered into the journey. Okay. So I related those two to being in Japan, and a couple of the things about being in Japan where I think these helped me. One is, even though I tried to learn a little bit of Japanese, I didn't do very well. My husband speaks Japanese quite well, but you know, that gave me permission to not learn as much. But, but I would hear the words, and to me, when people spoke to me, it was like one long sound. And it was several days, maybe a week, before I was able to turn my ears into hearing individual words as opposed to one long sound. So that was where I had to get away from the intellectual and just let my ears hear. And that was part of being on a journey. The other part that was curious is, you know, I do love cats, and it was strange that we didn't see any cats anywhere in Kyoto until we went on this walk called the Philosopher's Walk, which is a shaded, tree-lined walk that connected several temples, I think 3 temples. And there were dozens of cats laying around on that walk. So maybe the cats are philosophers. I don't know. That to me, that was a pretty incredible piece of a spiritual journey right there, seeing cats as philosophers. Okay. A couple more of the guidelines. One is seeing with fresh eyes and the ability to remember what it was like to learn something new as a child. In other words, being open to learn from new experiences. And another one is accepting a partial picture with the faith it will become more defined later. Sometimes the mystery can become clearer with time, but sometimes not. Accepting mystery in either case. So I took these 2 guidelines with me when we went to China, I have to say. I was unable to grasp the importance of saying words with the right tone to get a meaning. If you have the wrong tone, it's a totally different word. And so that was one where, yeah, I had to learn like something like a child, or I wasn't going to be able to pronounce any of those words. The other thing that was, partial picture, and it never really became clear to me. We were there during the spring festival, and they would have the dragon parades for bringing good luck to businesses, and the dragons would parade through the streets. But at the same time, there would be food and paper money being burned for the ancestors. And I never did quite understand how those 2 things related and went together. So I just accepted the partial picture and enjoyed the festivity. So that was what I did. And that, to me, that was employing those 2 guidelines for being on a journey. 2 more. And there are actually, in the actual course, there are maybe a dozen of these guidelines for being on a journey, but I'm only sharing 6 of them total. So the last 2 are being able to tolerate ambiguity without losing track of a sense of meaning, In other words, you do not have to understand an experience in order to learn and grow from it. And experiencing inner and outer journeys which stimulate one another. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I'm ordained as an interfaith minister. At my seminary, I had just finished studying the religions of India less than a month before our trip. So I had learned a bit about the Hindu and Sikh religions without having the full experience. In India, we were led to crowded temples for religious ceremonies where we could and did learn and grow from the experience without complete understanding of it. Actually, without much understanding of it. But that inner experience, which I could feel with all the chanting, feel it inside, it was actually only enhanced by the outer journey of watching the monkeys play around the temple. So many monkeys in India. Anyway, so traveling, like I was just sharing, that traveling is not the point. I'm fortunate that I went to these countries and that I took these tools with me about journeying. But you don't have to travel. You can take these guidelines for being on a journey with you in your everyday life. And then you can turn your life into your spiritual journey. That's it. Now, I began this discussion by mentioning that the 7 principles were what drew me to become Unitarian Universalist, to make this my spiritual home, an important home base for my spiritual journey. Through facilitating courses like Rise Up and Call Her Name, leading chalice circles, and ultimately feeling drawn to study interfaith religion at seminary, my UU faith and the 7 principles have supported me. Let's have a more detailed look at some of the 7 principles and how they can support or speak to a spiritual journey. Can I have the first slide, please? Yes. Okay. The first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Being able to see the worth and dignity of each person is essential for my own spiritual growth. This does not require that I agree with every person, just acknowledge that they have inherent worth. The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Similar to the first principle, we must have compassion in our relationships with others, looking toward equity and justice. Compassion can be a hallmark of a spiritual journey. And the third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. This would not be my spiritual home from which I travel my spiritual journey if you all had not accepted and encouraged my growth. So that's that. Yes. Okay. Can we have the next slide, please? I don't know if that first one was big enough to read. Okay, there we go. So the fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. This is my time for true confession. I'm really a first, fourth, and 7th principle girl. Those are the 3 that I always remember, the 1st, 4th, and 7th. Yeah. Lost which page I'm on. Okay. This one, the 4th, is my favorite. My spiritual journey is all about the search for truth and meaning. It is what led me to attend the Interfaith Seminary. The 5th principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations in society at large and in society at large. Participating in our well-run congregational meetings is part of the spiritual journey, as is participating in the democratic process in the society at large with equity, justice, and compassion as details. And the last slide. The sixth principle, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. A lofty goal, but part of the spiritual journey can be working toward that goal by exercising peace and justice in personal relationships, peace within yourself. That old saying, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. It's right there. And then finally, the seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. My other favorite principle, being a nature lover since birth. Being on a spiritual journey can mean seeing oneself as just a part of the natural world, interdependent with all that surrounds us. My spiritual practice on my journey these days primarily consists of watching birds and squirrels on the bird feeder in my backyard, filling their water dishes, and occasionally scolding the squirrels to let the birds have a turn. Because, you know, squirrels can be bullies. Part of being on a spiritual journey is realizing that as long as you are still alive, the journey is not done. And so it is with my UU spiritual journey. I started my love of the UU faith with the 7 principles, but it appears that my learning and my growth is not done. Can we see one more slide, please? There it is. Last summer at the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, the graphic showing love at the center of a mandala of values was presented as an alternative for the 7 principles. Though I love the 7 principles, I understand that the goal of the spiritual journey is to be always growing and moving forward. Therefore, my journey continues as I try to incorporate this new way of looking at and understanding my spiritual home and seeing how love is the center of it all. I wasn't a fan when I first saw this because I was so enamored with the 7 principles. But as I read a little bit about them, I'm sold. I'm quoting now from some of the material presented for consideration. And you'll see they have interdependence at the top, and then it goes around in the circle. Interdependence. We honor the independent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. And then at the bottom, you have pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Then, justice is in the northwest corner. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. And then transformation is in the southeast. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. And then generosity. We celebrate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. And finally, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. That was a lot of information to absorb. Reverend Crystal took the congregation through it a few months ago, and we made these posters that are up there on the wall. As much as I love the 7 principles, I have to say that now that I have read the descriptions of these values in the love mandala, I can incorporate this as a part of my spiritual journey. It is a part of life. Sometimes there is an awareness, other times it's just too busy to notice. That's what our spiritual journey is. We live our life. Sometimes life is just too comfortable to notice elements of a spiritual journey. Sometimes it's too busy. Comfort also is a privilege, but so is awareness. Awareness is a privilege, and don't give that one away. You're entitled to awareness. Before I close, I'd like to share with you a meditation. Actually, time is running on. Maybe I won't share the meditation. Let me just jump ahead and say that part of that meditation talked about a journey with Moses through the desert, because Passover is about a month away. And you could think of any journey as a potential journey for your spiritual journey. That's the way it goes. The journey could be the journey of the Passover voyage through the desert for 40 days or 40 years or whatever. Or it could be, this is Palm Sunday, it could be the journey of Jesus entering into Jerusalem with his disciples. Or the journey you could imagine in a meditation is the journey of refugees from Central America trying to cross into Mexico and into the United States. All journeys, all worthy of a meditation. In the meditation, we would have heard, the promised land is not a destination, it is a way of going. Where is your journey taking you this morning? Not the destination, but what is your way of going? And now I would have Susan to please come up and lead us in Blue Boat home.
Through below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I am landing alive now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the wedge in wonder, casting questions into the deep. Lifting here with ship's companions, a we kindred's pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks in the waves upholding me, all the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is our blue home.
Rest here in your boat with me, the river calls. Listen to how I flow, the sound of life coursing all around you. Let the current hold you. Let the current guide you. The river then gently flows through your soul and whispers, "Come, let us live."
Right. Now, if you will join with me in reading the words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And if you will rise in body or spirit for our closing blessing song.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. From you